Hello, friends. We're talking about the Royce White report for 3/15/2003, and the Vipers lost 114-104 loss to the Santa Cruz Warriors, who spanked them last time. Not so much this time. This time, the Vipers more self-destructed and whoa, what did I just turn on? Hold, please. Things are just happening out of my control. Okay, cool. All right. So, we have an interesting game to talk about. It was bound to happen after Royce White strung together a few great games, ending with last game where I gave him his first 4 Winnebagos. That was awesome. This is a trailer trash game, straight up. Royce wasn't garbage for most of it, but he wasn't good. He was bad. On a scale of garbage to awesome, he was bad. So, let me break up my game notes so we can get to it. Sort of things going into this game to think about. The Vipers are now the most talented they've ever been, at least with the smaller men. At the small forward position, they're stacked. At the guard, their guards are great. They start with Goudelock and Glenn Rice Jr., both of whom are amazing. And then they have DJ Kennedy coming off the bench, who's one of the top D-League prospects. And then they have Chris Johnson, small forward, who is quite the three-point shooter, and he was on display today. And then Terray Murray, who I'm not a big fan of, but he's an okay player. He's a decent player. So then they got Royce White, Tyler Honeycutt, Mike Singletary, who used to lead the team in scoring. I don't know how long ago, maybe like a year ago. And then at center, they're very thin. They have Hassan Whiteside, who I don't know what's going on with him. I'm starting to suspect team trouble as opposed to instead of Hassan Whiteside just not being a part of the rotation. Because Hassan Whiteside should be a part of the rotation. But they have Chris Daniels, who's a new player in, and I'm going to talk about him. So that's how the Vipers were going into this game. They'd won, I think, 5-6 games in a row. And they were against weak teams primarily. Santa Cruz destroyed them on the offensive boards. Taylor Griffin had 21 and 7 offensive rebounds. I didn't even look that up. That number is just stuck in my head. I remember Hilton Armstrong was a problem during some points. And really, the Santa Cruz Warriors, the last time they played the Vipers, exposed the small lineup and weaknesses of the Vipers in terms of defending the big men and keeping guys off the offensive boards. Now, while this wasn't as bad as the first game between these two teams was, that was abysmal. If they missed a shot, the Warriors were going to get it right back. If the Warriors missed a shot, they were going to get an offensive rebound. And so we didn't have that, so it wasn't as bad, but same sort of things were happening. It was the same story with the same teams. So with that, I will start going through my game notes. So Taylor Griffin started the game. I expected a huge game out of him. Not so. Let me get the box score up as well. Taylor Griffin, 6 points, 18 minutes. I think they started. I don't know if he's actually a starter. I think they started him because he had a big game last time. 18 minutes, 6 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 personal fouls, 3 steals, 2 turnovers. He didn't put a mark on this game. So he starts. I'm worried about him. I'm worried about the same sort of offensive rebound problems. They don't show up until later in the game. Obviously later in the game. There was no before in the game. So right off the bat, Royce White trying to find his shot. He does this every game. He misses a few shots you don't think he should take, and then he hits one, and then he sort of gets into a groove. Early in the shot clock, off of an offensive rebound, 11:20 left, Royce White misses a shot. Next time down the court, or a few times down the court, 10:17 left, a designed isolation, Hilton Armstrong on Royce White. Hilton Armstrong is a very talented D-League center, the best one, I'd say, that the Vipers have faced, that they do face, or I don't know, maybe in the future they'll face someone better, but in terms of offense, defense, rebounding, this is the best center they play. Royce White has his hands full with Hilton Armstrong, who I read online did a decent job guarding Dwight Howard earlier this year. I believe he was on the Hornets, but he was on the Hornets a long time ago. I could just be, I don't follow Hilton Armstrong's career. but he was in the NBA earlier this year. He's been in the NBA before. He's a very talented big man. So he was isolated in Royce White and traveled. He didn't have a great game, so I don't know. He traveled. Yeah, whatever. The Vipers were in a 2-3 zone. They try to do that to prevent. You have 3 men down low, and it's easy to collapse. That's the purpose of the 2-3 zone. Whenever someone gets in, the zone alters to cut off that player's where they're attempting to crack the zone. And the way you beat the zone is you make it contract, and then you pass out, so that the zone has to move again. And your passing is faster than the zone's movements. And so eventually the zone is out of place, and you have an easy shot. It's supposed to prevent inside shots. It's not a panacea. I think that's the word. It's not an antidote for rebounding and inside defense problems, but that's the purpose of the zone. And if you're smart, you'll be able to stop a lot of plays that would go inside otherwise. So the Santa Cruz Warriors know their strengths, and they're crashing 3 big men on the boards. So they were getting some offensive boards, not really so many in the beginning as they do later. Royce White picks up his first foul with 7 minutes left, pushes a man with position, backing on a rebound. The man has position on him, as in he is on the man's back. He pushes the guy to throw off his equilibrium, his understanding of his balance. He pushes the guy so the guy can't get up for the rebound. Royce White grabs the rebound. He gets an off-ball foul. Now, Royce White, I think people have forgotten, has foul trouble. He fouled out of the first few games, and a lot of those were dumb fouls, but I've seen them persist. I've seen the swiping, I've seen the lazy, I've seen the off-ball mistake, and I've also seen, to be fair to him, calls go against him, where the D-League, sometimes the officials call everything. Let me count up the fouls in this game. Let's see, can I find that? 22 fouls for the Warriors, 26 for the Vipers, and we had 2 ejections on the Vipers, tons of technical fouls. Fouls were getting called left and right in this game. During some points it was hard to watch just because I was tired of the play stoppage. So, but Royce White, because of that, because of the tightness of the game, his issues with fouling came out. He only played 20 minutes because he was fouling, and it wasn't like he wasn't playing any differently than he normally does. This is how he plays. In this game, they just called it tighter, and Royce White got screwed because of it. Royce White screwed himself because of it. And yeah, he played 20 minutes and then was kicked out of the game. He was, it's hard to see a player continue to foul like that when you're pulling for him, and fouling is its own animal that you have to learn to deal with. It's not calming yourself down on the offensive end so you have good shot selection. It's not trying hard so you get position on a rebound and get your rebound numbers up. It's sometimes it's mental fortitude, knowing not to throw in your hand and try to get a steal when a player is getting by you to the hoop. Sometimes it's knowing you can't push people, and he knows. He's played at every level. He knows he can't push people off the ball. And I've seen him get away with that a lot. It's a part of his game. I see it in the NBA a lot, and I don't ever see it called. But this isn't the NBA. It's the D-League, and the rules are different. Follow the rules, and this is a different game. They lose by 10 points. They were up 15 in the fourth. 15 in the fourth. And, every game has a feeling. If you've played basketball, you know that there's momentum is so important to the game. And the momentum was up in the air, even when they were up 15. They were put up 15 by Chris Johnson's hot three-point shooting. He made 4 in a stretch of like 5 minutes. And so that sort of just gave his team a boost that wasn't sustained, and the other team chipped into it continually. The Warriors did, and they ended up winning this game. I believe with 4 minutes left, the game was tied, or they were up 5 with 4 minutes left. With like 3:30 left, the game was tied, and then the Warriors never got the lead back. That was due to ejections. Wow, look at me. I've skipped right to the end of the game. Well, that happens. Royce White misses. The touch issues that seem to be solved are back. Mikael Gladness, who was also a huge issue last time on the boards, was big in this game. He had 5 of 10 shooting, 17 minutes. Yeah, he doesn't play that much, but I swear he has a huge impact whenever he's on the court. 10 points. So 10 points in 17 minutes. Per 34, that's 20. It's not super good, but let me tell you that I was watching the game and Mikael Gladness was an issue. So Royce White had his coast. He had a 640. He had a coast to coast. He likes going coast to coast. He's good at it. I'd say it didn't always work out in this game. With 6:25 left, still in the first quarter, he fouls Hilton Armstrong because Hilton has good scoring position. That's a smart foul. Stop a score, send him to the line, whatever. 6:12, another miss. That's a touch issue. Just wasn't looking at the rim or his shot. It didn't rim out. He didn't throw it off the right part of the backboard. That's why it didn't go in. And that's when you're on in basketball, that goes in because you know where to throw it off the backboard just kind of intuitively. When you're not, I said touch issue, but it's not concentration either. It's more of it could be concentration. I don't know. He misses that. I was looking for him to get into a groove. Even though I'm late on watching this game, I didn't look at the final score because I want to get an honest, unbiased impression of the game. And so I figured he'd turn it around. I was hoping he would. Mikael Gladness comes in with Hilton Armstrong. I don't know. He scores a few times, but offensive rebounding wasn't a huge problem. Royce White comes out with 2 fouls with 4 minutes left in the first quarter. Goudelock's been cold the past few games. He scores a consistent 20, and they call him Mr. Consistency, and he has a great offensive game. But I've seen him play poorly in the game before this, and the first half of this one. He got hot, and I'd say he got hot just because that means he was playing better than the average. So he got hot, but then returned to that cold by the end of the game, which is too bad to see from Goudelock. I really took him to be a consistent player, and maybe he is. Maybe what is this, 2 games? He's in a 2-game funk. That's not bad, but it's just something I'm not used to seeing from Goudelock. And without Goudelock on the court, it does feel like they lack a leader. You don't appreciate things until they're gone, and I'm lucky enough, the Vipers are lucky enough, Nick Nurse is lucky enough to see what this team is like without Goudelock. Goudelock is the glue. He's Goudelock Gorilla Glue for this team, and it's apparent now that he's in a funk. Tyler Honeycutt doesn't play. Don't know why. He went to the locker room. They didn't explain why. They didn't know why. He hasn't been playing very much, which is odd because he came to the team as like a salvation. They were like, yes, Tyler Honeycutt is finally here. Yes, and women were screaming and babies were growing or whatever, but he wasn't done much. Glenn Rice Jr. is not a leader. Royce White's not a leader. They get into their funks, and I've been on teams with guys that get into funks, and it pisses you off. You're trying to rectify a feeling on the court, something that's happening on the court, and these guys are just moody. So you can't have a leader that does that. You need the mental fortitude to be there. You need to be the rock for your team. Goudelock is that. So, yeah. Santa Cruz had good ball movement going, which wasn't a theme for the game, but they did in the first. Armstrong takes it to Royce White. He didn't put up any effort. Got scored on with 6:50 left in the. I guess we're in the second now. No, we're still in the first. Wow. I'll hurry up. Yeah, okay. I took away B-Well for that. Now I have +1 B-Well. Honestly, he had like -2 B-Wells. I just did it wrong and then got lazy. So Royce White had a nice tip in, got a good offensive board with 6:25 left. Hilton Armstrong comes right down the court, scores on him. People don't come out on defense on Royce White anymore. They let him shoot, which is wise, being that he's made 2 shots in his tenure with the Warriors, and 1 was waved off for not counting. I'd say he's like 1 for 10 from outside of the free throw line. He's made 1 shot still, just 1. So it makes sense. He's smart though. Or other teams are dumb. I'm not sure what. Or he's skilled. One of those 3, or a mixture of all of them. He takes it to the rack and often gets fouled. He gets a good head of steam going towards the bucket when they don't step out on him. And Royce White is good at passing out when he needs to. So Royce White has he has momentum, and that's an advantage. And the team either has to collapse on him, and they often foul him, or Royce White sees he can't do anything and passes out. So that's good for him. 4:17, third foul on Royce White. Now I'm not sure if this is 4:17 in the first quarter or halftime. Okay, it's 4:17 in the second quarter. So he has his third foul before halftime. Not good. They take him out. Goudelock has a nice shot, 3:05. Glenn Rice gets his first tech. He fouls Taylor Griffin. Griffin was complaining because the second before on the court, he's on a fast break and tries to go dunk on Taylor Griffin, and Glenn Rice can get up. And I've seen guys, when they're trying to dunk, get fouled and take that really, really seriously, because when you're in the air, you're really, really vulnerable. And Glenn Rice isn't a big guy. He's light. And if a big guy hits him in the air, he could crash badly. So I think what happened is Glenn Rice got touched a little bit and had to alter his shot severely. He went from a dunk to trying to lay it in, like a very awkward layup. And that's a foul. Definitely a foul. I'm kind of pissed about it. That's a foul. And I had a friend who tried to dunk at a park and got real messed up, blood all over him because some guy pushed him from behind. So I understand him taking that personally, and nothing called. So next time down the court, he fouls Taylor Griffin. Is pissed off about it. Maybe it wasn't. I don't remember exactly why, but he's pissed off about that the foul was called and not called the other way, and so he got teched up. He would later be ejected. So that tech was important, and his team would lose because him and Royce White got ejected so soon together, and they lost all momentum. Taylor Griffin comes down the next time on the court, hits an and one. At this point, I believe we've accounted for 5 of his 6 points, so that's the story of Taylor Griffin. Hilton Armstrong, Chris Daniels has come in for Royce White. Hilton Armstrong takes it to Chris Daniels right after Taylor Griffin hit this and one. Gets another and one. So things aren't going so hot for the Vipers. Hilton Armstrong takes over. Starts getting fouled, rebounds, killing people on defense, rejecting shots. Hilton Armstrong took over the last 5 minutes of the half. So now we can go to halftime. Armstrong has 14 points at half. So Royce White takes from the free throw line, scores with 11:53 left in the third quarter. A couple plays later, a designed two-man game between Goudelock and Royce White. I think that's a very effective play for them to use because Goudelock Goudelock and Royce White are both smart, and I'd like to see that chemistry get better. They're smart and they're quick, and Royce White's big. So, I would just wish he could dunk a little more, but other than that, they're perfect for a two-man pick-and-roll game. So Goudelock scores off of that. Royce White gets a technical, and I take away B well for this. He gets an off-ball foul, which I thought was I have number 3 here, but maybe it was number 3. Yeah, I'm sorry, I made a mistake earlier. This was his third foul, which was his technical foul. Royce White later, 9:52 left in the third, draws a shooting foul where they challenge Royce to shoot. He gets the momentum going, goes in, draws contact, misses a shot. 2 for 2 from the line. 9:15 left, misses a coast-to-coast. 8:35 left, Royce White gets a beautiful offensive rebound, misses the tip in, bounces right back to him, tries to tip it in with one hand, misses again. The Vipers are now floundering. They lose composure here. Royce White scores with 8 minutes left. Glenn Rice is playing the center of the 2-3, which is usually Royce is in there, but what Royce likes to do is be the wing on the 2-3, and then instead of fighting for a rebound, which is bad for his team, but as long as the rebounds are coming, he leaks out and tries to lead the break from the bottom left or right of the 2-3. So Royce White picks up his 4th foul. I don't have a number here, but picks up his 4th foul. Chris Daniels, who's the new big man for the Vipers, hits a 3. I've seen him shoot 2 other ones in past games, so he's 1 for 3 on the season now. I guess he can kind of shoot it. Santa Cruz starts pressing, and damn, you know how I say that the Vipers are floundering? They came out of the halftime, I think, on a 4-0 run real quick, which I mean isn't a run, but it felt like a run, and they were winning. They were winning, and then Santa Cruz starts pressing. 2 turnovers under the bucket, like they can't get the ball in, result in scores against them. So that, and they just weren't scoring on the offensive end, so the press was very effective. Um, so first punch goes from the Vipers to the Warriors. Warriors aren't looking good. They start pressing. The Vipers stop looking good. And then the final F of this little transaction goes to the Vipers and Chris Johnson, who hits 4 threes in a row, starting at 5:30, ending at the I believe 1 minute mark. But he hits 4 threes, like holy shit! And so 5:30, he hits a 3. 4:57, next time down the court, hits a 3. Chris Daniels makes a shot. Um, well, whatever. 3:45, Chris Daniels gets an offensive rebound and puts it back. And my comment is that he's more coordinated and aware of his bucket position than Hassan Whiteside is. Chris Johnson, 3:10 left, hits another 3. But the other team starts getting offensive rebounds. End of the third quarter, Hilton Armstrong is getting rebounds. 2:44, Chris Daniels scores again. Chris Daniels and Chris Johnson did a nice little scoring run here. Even Goudelock gets it going. 1:55 gets an and one. Honeycutt shoots a 3. Vipers aren't really rebounding well, relying on hot shooting. Yeah, that's why they lost. They fell in love with the 3-point shot, and it wasn't even like, it was a relationship that was going anywhere. I mean, maybe it was going somewhere, but clearly the 3-point shot had no interest in the Vipers early on, and they were just really, needy and emotional, and 3-point shot left them, and the Vipers just kept shooting it for the whole fourth quarter. And when that didn't work and players started getting kicked out, they broke down. Nick Nurse was also ejected. So Glenn Rice ejected, Royce White fouls out, Nick Nurse ejected. They fell apart. Too bad the game didn't end at the end of the third. Gladness comes in, end of the third, puts in 2 buckets in a row. That was his thing. He'd score back to back. Like, he only had 10 points, but I remember 8 of them. Royce White's still on the bench. We're in the fourth quarter now. Royce White's on the bench for a long time. Kennedy's playing well. Otherwise, they're just shooting, and it's not going in, really. Glenn Rice is taking the ball up. Idiotically throws it at Chris Daniels, who isn't looking. Hits him in the face. They turn over. The ball gets turned over. There's a timeout or something. I don't know. Stop ball. Glenn Rice goes up to Chris Daniels. He's like, yo, you got to pay attention. And Chris Daniels takes it. He's like, yeah, man, shit, I guess I'm sorry. He had 2 guards he could have passed to. And that was, Chris Daniels, yeah, you should have been paying attention. But Glenn Rice, what the hell are you doing? 2 guards, and you throw it to Chris Daniels while you're taking up the ball. The guards are right next to him. Like, everyone was behind the 3-point line. Glenn Rice was a little farther back. He was just trying to advance the ball. Gives it to Chris Daniels, hits him in the face. I don't know. It was a pretty funny moment. The funniest moments of the season so far. First time Royce White was ejected, he daps up the mascot as he gets kicked out. It was just like, what the hell are you doing? Someone said he said be well to the mascot. That's pretty funny. Last game there was a butt cam. I don't think the cameraman knew that he was live, and he's looking at some cheerleader's butt for like 7 seconds, and then he focuses in on another butt. I'm going to put that video up at some point. It's really funny. And then there is this transaction right here. It's very funny. So Royce White comes back in, immediately picks up his 5th foul with 8 minutes left to go. They leave him in. Royce White scores with 5:30 left. Glenn Rice picks up a tech, kicked out. He was jawing with some guy on the way up the court, kicked out. 5:06, Royce White picks up his 6th foul, kicked out. Vipers lose the lead on a 21-6 run. And then with 1 minute left, Nick Nurse is ejected. So Royce White never got it going in this game, and then his foul trouble. It wasn't a super weak game from Royce, but he got kicked out, and he him and Glenn Rice, because of their lack of composure, had a severe impact on this team losing the game. So that's my report. I'm going to watch the next game tonight, and I'm going to watch half of it tonight, half of it tomorrow after work, and then I'll put up another video. Sorry I'm so far behind. I do a lot of other stuff, and this weekend I didn't have free time. Didn't have a moment of free time. So yeah, I'm going to catch up. I have a bunch of ideas for not game reports, but other videos I can do. I want to do a spotlight, like talents, weaknesses, potential for Glenn Rice and Andrew Goudelock. I also want to do a Hassan Whiteside versus Chris Daniels comparison, just because people used to be really high on Hassan Whiteside, and he has some talent, and how he's just gone. I'm going to check if he's on the roster right now, because things happen in the D-League, and no one talks about him. Yeah, Hassan Whiteside did not play, coach's decision. So I'm going to compare their game, because Chris Daniels isn't Shaq. He's not. He's weird. Hassan Whiteside's weird too. He's like JaVale McGee sort of. But I'm going to compare them. I'd like to see some more from DJ Kennedy, and I might make a video for him. Chris Johnson, I kind of want to make a video for. It won't be long. He's a long player that can shoot threes and has a defensive presence. But yeah, so thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, comment, do your thing. Have a nice day.